Chapter 559, Sword Practitioner. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. Ember Killen's eyes were like two burning copper bells, shining with multicolored lights. However, as it stared at Zhang Yuochen, it emanated a beast-like nature and savage aura. Boom! The Ember Killen stretched out its four iron heels and charged toward Zhang Yuochen. It seemed that it wanted to eat Zhang Yuochen first to recover some of its energy before continuing to deal with Monklidai. Monklidai stopped. He breathed heavily and used his kasai to wipe the sweat from his head as he reminded Zhang Yuochen in a loud voice, "Be very careful. That Killen is not easy to beat, you are no match for it." Ouch! The Ember Killen opened its enormous mouth and gave an earth-shattering roar, overpowering Monklidai's voice. The Killen's cry formed sound waves and condensed into ripples of sound. Each ripple was more powerful than a full-powered attack from a warrior in the ninth change of the fish-dragon realm. Hundreds of thousands of sound waves rippled forward endlessly. They struck against the surface of the little island and in a flash, cracking sounds could be heard. The 5-kilometer-long island abruptly became muddy stones and shattered rock, disappearing into the sea. Earlier, the Ember Killen's roar had been focused on Monklidai. Zhang Yuochen stood far away and used space domain to block the sound waves that reached him. However, at this moment, the Ember Killen's main target became Zhang Yuochen. Only now did he realize that its power was so terrifying. The sound waves from the roar were strong enough to kill a monk in the ninth change of the fish-dragon realm. Zhang Yuochen could use the power of space warps to move the sound wave behind him. However, if the other party's power was much stronger than Zhang Yuochen's, even if he used space warp, he would not be able to block his opponent. This was exactly what Zhang Yuochen was experiencing at the moment. Ember Killen's sound waves had far surpassed what Zhang Yuochen could endure. Zhang Yuochen was not a match for him. He took control of the power of space and prepared to execute space moving to avoid the Ember Killen's sound wave attack. At this moment, a red shadow flew overhead and out of the clouds. In a cold voice, it said, "Reckless beast, how dare you injure my disciple?" Swoosh! A white holy sword flew down like a shooting star and struck Ember Killen's head with a loud swash. The white holy sword was only a 3.3 centimeters long, but when it landed on the Ember Killen's head, it expanded to tens of thousands of times in size and became a giant sword. Thousands of sword chi exploded out of the holy sword. With a series of swishing sounds, they all landed on the Ember Killen's body and sliced open its thick scales, piercing through its head. Pfff. The white holy sword flew out from the bottom of the Ember Killen's neck with a large swathe of fresh blood and returned to the air. Ember Killen let out a wretched scream. It suffered from heavy injuries and eventually stopped attacking Zhang Yuochen. Ember Killen raised its head and looked at the red-clothed woman hovering in midair. Ember Killen was angry and roared at the sky. About 333 meters away from the sea, the girl with red clothes hovered in the air as her feet rested on a wisp of white cloud like a sword fairy. The red-clothed woman was only 23 centimeters tall. She stretched her arm forward, and the white holy sword flew toward her and floated above her palm. This person was Elder Xuanji's fifth disciple, Demi Saint Lingxiu. Zhang Yuochen saw Demi Saint Lingxiu and let out a sigh of relief. He released the power of space and called her fifth senior sister apprentice. Demi Saint Lingxiu nodded toward him, and had a glimmer of joy. "King Jinhuang told me that you were in this area, so I came to find you. Junior fellow apprentice, I am relieved to see that you are all right. Let me defeat Ember Killen so we can return to Myriad Chaos Mountain." Zhang Yuochen reminded her, "The Ember Killen's power is very strong. You must be careful. You are underestimating me. You should know that I am a sword practitioner. What would hold me back from defeating a mere level 6 savage beast?" Demi Saint Lingxiu stretched out a slender arm and grasped a holy sword that was hundreds of times larger than her body. A powerful gust of holy chi surged through her palm and entered the blade of the sword. A mighty sword chi broke out of her body, and like a white rainbow passing through the sun, it shot into the sky and pierced through the clouds. Glang! Affected by Demi Saint Lingxiu's sword technique, the ancient abyss sword in Zhang Yuochen's hands trembled as if it wanted to fly out of his hands. Senior sister apprentice's sword technique comprehension is very powerful. She only needs one gust of sword comprehension to beat him hollow. Zhang Yuochen silently thought. Having reached the intermediate stage of heart integrated into sword, Zhang Yuochen thought his achievements in sword techniques were very high and were even comparable to most half-saints. However, Demi-Saint Lingxiu's realm of sword comprehension was even more tremendous. Her skills exceeded Zhang Yuochen's by a long shot. She was a true sword practitioner. No one could compare to a true sword practitioner in the same realm who was ranked first in an attack. Watch carefully. I am going to show you what true sword technique is all about. Yin and Yang split the heavens and earth. Naturally, sword techniques are endless. Demi-Saint Lingxiu slowly swung the holy sword to move heaven and earth spiritual qi, forming a large circular sword qi in front of her, seemingly forming a Taikai 8 trigrams. Before Zhang Yuochen got the chance to see the movement clearly, she had disappeared. Swoosh! The circle of sword chi fell on the Ember Killin's body and made crackling noises. The sword chi severed all the scales on the Killin's body and sent them flying outward, leaving a bloody body with no skin. Right after, Demi-Saint Lingxiu stood proudly on the head of the Ember Killin. She raised her sword, pointing it between its brows, and said, "Acknowledge your defeat or die." The Ember Killin had no more fight left in it and it gave a low and trembling roar. It immediately crouched on the ground and gave a pitiful look to the Demi-Saint. "At least you know what is good for you." The holy sword in Demi-Saint Lingxiu's hand returned to become 1 inch in size and was returned to its sheath. Afterward, she waved her arm and turned into a gust of qi below, collecting all the Killin's scales. Killin's scales had various sizes, but gradually they started to shrink under the power of her holy qi until they were the size of fingernails, after which they flew to a silver thread bag. Demi-Saint Lingxiu patted her bag, and a rattling sound came from it. She looked toward Zhang Yuochen and smiled. "Junior fellow apprentice, I still haven't given you anything nice. Once we are back in the Saint Academy, I will ask the Sword Sanctum's master weapons refiner to make a Killin armor for you." Zhang Yuochen looked at the silver thread bag at Demi-Saint Lingxiu's waist. He thought for a moment, then took out a red-colored storage ring and handed it to her. "Senior sister apprentice, let me give you a gift first." Demi-Saint Lingxiu's eyes rose and stared at the storage ring. She opened her mouth in anger and said, "Don't be like this. The other elder brother apprentices have always treated me like a junior sister apprentice, giving me all kinds of gifts. When master has finally taken in a junior brother apprentice, he allowed me to leave the younger generation behind. For once, just let me be a good senior sister apprentice and let me give you a gift." Zhang Yuochen smiled and said, "It is just a small plaything, it cannot compare to the Killin armor that you are planning to give to me." Demi-Saint Lingxiu quietly thought about it, that it was only a ring, and it would not do harm to accept it. As a half-saint, she had seen all kinds of treasures. In her eyes, the ring that Zhang Yuochen gave her was just an exquisite accessory. If someone else had given her an accessory, she would not even care to glance at it. However, Zhang Yuochen was a disciple that master was the proudest of and was also her only younger brother apprentice. Regardless of how cheap his present was, it showed how he cared for her. Demi-Saint Lingxiu stared at Zhang Yuochen and accepted the red jade ring. Smiling, she said, "The elder brother apprentices all gave holy weapons, armor, medicinal pills, and other practice treasures. You are the first one to gift me an accessory. Looks like that the rumors in the external world are not wrong after all. You are indeed a sentimental man. You know how to make a girl happy." Zhang Yuochen smiled awkwardly and said, "Please don't believe such rumors. Those rumors are purposely made by Saint Xigentry attempts in using someone else to do their dirty work. Why are you so nervous? I am only joking, but since Saint Xigentry dared to harm you, I will remember their debt to me." HNG. Her gaze suddenly switched and became unusually cold and sharp. The fingers of her right hand squeezed the red jade ring tightly and a wave of holy chi surged out. She had unintentionally activated the inscriptions of space in the ring. Swoosh! A red light appeared on the surface of the ring and spread outward like water ripples. Demi-Saint Lingxiu noticed something strange about the storage ring. She gasped, shocked at what she had seen. When she reached out with her left hand, she plunged it deeply into the light and discovered that there was a giant internal space that existed inside the ring. "This is a space treasure, a storage ring. Demi Saint Ling Xiu's eyes lit up and she looked toward Zhang Yuochen with disbelief. In the entire Kunlun's field, there were very few space treasures. Although each was a holy item of astonishing power, no one would use them carry personal items. Thus, the storage ring was only an item of legend for a half-saint. Zhang Yuochen smiled and said the words he had prepared long ago. Perhaps you don't know about this, but I once found a secret mansion from the Middle Ancient times. In there, I obtained a number of usable space treasures. This storage ring is one of them. Demi Saint Ling Xiu did not ask further questions. After all, the only reason Zhang Yuochen could find the secret mansion and obtain the treasures was luck. Actually, she had also discovered a few secret mansions and had obtained many benefits that could not be told to others. For him to be able to take out a storage ring and give it to her, showed that he was not a selfish person. Without knowing it, their relationship grew a little closer. Demi Saint Ling Xiu looked at the storage ring that Zhang Yuochen was wearing on his finger and realized that he must have other space treasures for himself, so she calmly accepted his gift. She wore the red storage ring on her right wrist. It was as if the bracelet was explicitly made for her. It was a perfect fit. She placed the silver thread bag with the Kunlun scales into the internal space and nodded with a smile. You have given me such a precious gift. I wonder if the elder brother apprentices would be jealous after seeing it. Master and elder brother apprentices are all in the Myriad Chaos Mountain. We should hurry there. You broke into the ultimate realm of the Heaven Realm and drew down the Court of Gods. You have brought us more pride. Knowing second senior brother apprentice's personality, he will certainly host a large banquet tonight to welcome you back.